Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Joanne. I'm a law student from Melbourne, Australia. I hope you're doing well. I've come on live. I feel a bit under the weather. I've got one of those summer colds, hypochondria, and I feel a little bit on the yuck side. So we'll see how we go. It may be short. We'll see how we go. So it would seem like our friend is still talking about Alison Holker and her book. I don't even think the book's come out yet. I think, hello, Heather, Christine. But it's bizarre anyway. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So let's look at Instagram. And then we'll look at what she posted, which I put on the community post, because now she's saying that she's something different. I don't think she knows who she is. So here, so she's now started doing videos. She's saying that Alison Holker's boyfriend is married, and now he's allegedly filed divorce. I'm not going to show this picture because her 17-year-old, Alison's 17-year-old daughter did a video and gave her perspective. And let me just tell you, she has every right to defend her mother and talk about the situation and from her point of view, because she's 17 and she was his adopted daughter. Apparently she's been exposed and she's got leaked calls. So she's going through all old information now. Alison is exposed for dismissing Stephen's mental illness, mistreating Stephen's family, and refusing to honour her husband in death. This would be hard to listen to. Well, why would you be sharing it? So she refused to honour Stephen in a phone. I'm not going to play them because I don't really want to go back in there. She refuses to honour his greatest accomplishment. It says, despite this is where she needs to prove it. Despite his hardware, Alison refuses to honour the commitment me made to her. He helped her increase her wealth and fame. So again, there's a bit of a typo error there. She's not letting this go. Remembering Stephen today for the joy and light he gave to the world. He changed the lives of so many people he never met. So did Alison forget about Stephen's autopsy? However, now she's saying that the autopsy, that the autopsy showed that he didn't have any drugs. Just because there were no drugs in the system at the time doesn't mean that he didn't have an addiction at some point in time. Confirmed that he was clear of all drugs and alcohol at the time his life ended. A person that was a very heavy user of Mary Jane would have most certainly tested positive, but nothing clear, clean, sober. Alison's new book plans to expose details about Stephen's secrets. Here's the thing. No one's actually read the book. These are all based on assumptions of what she's going to talk about. Who's read the book to be able to say that this is what she's talking about? Just because he was clean at one point doesn't mean he didn't have an addiction before. And I'm like, and then she says, some people speculate that Alison may have been enraged to learn of Stephen's real feelings towards her. Is this what is driving her desire to drive his legacy through a smear campaign? Sound off below. So now she's encouraging people to say bad things about Alison. Attorney Simone Redwine calls out. That's right, now Alison Holker's racist. calls out Alison Holker for an invalid NDA. So it says an NDA must provide consideration for the contract to be considered valid. So it's funny how apparently these NDAs have all been leaked. To me, if it was leaked, it now means that it's invalid. Well, the NDA does bar the family and friends from profiting off the information they learned at the funeral. They can be sued for compensatory and punitive damages. According to the NDA, the deterrent isn't to stop them from writing or profiting, but to rather keep them silent. So there's so now this lawyer's covered it. But yeah, I would have thought that an NDA, without a crystal ball, exclusively reveals the full details of the NDA Alison Holker forced Stephen Boss's family to sign in our new YouTube video. Find the link in stories. But here's my issue with that. If the NDA has become public, does that void it? So apparently, according to IP Australia, so again, we're talking about non-disclosure agreements, is a legal contract to protect sensitive information from being shared with others. So it can be ideas, inventions, designs, everything. Okay. And how to create an NDA. No, it doesn't tell me. It doesn't tell me what to do if it's what makes an NDA invalid. If it's too broad. So this is now Thomson Reuters. Again, they make a lot of the textbooks, and they also could include confidentiality agreements. Now, there's a unilateral NDA where one party has confidential information to protect the disclosing party, and only one party agrees to keep it confidential, the receiving party, or a mutual or bilateral NDA where both parties need to keep it confidential. So it sounds like it was a unilateral NDA. So that is a legal document. High short order. They are enforced if properly executed and drafted. So an NDA could be unenforceable if it's too broad, is not for a defined time period, covers information that is not confidential, or asks for illegal conduct. So if an employer writes an NDA that is too broad or too restrictive, a court is likely to view it with skepticism. If an organization has already disclosed information covered by non-disclosure agreement, then the court might say that the agreement is moot, request something to do illegal. So what can happen is if our illegal contract, if broken, the agreed party can take legal action. It can be for breach of conduct, breach of fiduciary duty, misappropriation of trade secrets, copyright infringement, and other things. So without seeing it, I can't tell you whether it's a valid or invalid, and I don't have experience writing with NDAs. Okay, so don't forget, I'm just a law student. So please take what I say with a grain of salt. But I find it very, very concerning that people are showing the NDAs. Now, the only way that they could be out is if that time period has expired. Remember, there's usually a time period. Is going to blame Stephen's family for wanting an open casket. She's going to use the race card and accuse his family of doing this. The dispute with Alison is not about the casket, and the photos have nothing to do with race, but Alison will weaponize race to point to untrustworthy ones. So it says, according to the book, his family insisted on an open casket because of the African American tradition. The wake, and then she's saying, according to my sources, the open casket was not the issue. Due to how Stephen passed, there was confusion on if the mortuary could repair his injury for viewing. Regardless, this was not an African-American tradition. Now, I'm not African-American. I have no idea if that is tradition or not, or whatever. I'm not from where they are, so I can't comment. The family wanted a wake service to be held before he was cremated. Ellison wanted Stephen cremated almost immediately, and the autopsy was needed, so cremation wasn't possible right away. Though my sources say Ellison would have had him cremated the same day if she had her way, which is very interesting because he passed around the time of, didn't he pass in 2022 when COVID was rampant? And if the US was anything like Australia, there were delays because, and there still are. I mean, there's a 3 to 4 week delay for cremations where I live at the moment. That's the standard. So we'd be very surprised if you could get same day. I want to know where you're getting it from. Anyway, she told US Weekly that Stephen made his family sign NDAs all the time. All the celebrities do NDAs for funerals. His family maintains that an NDA for a party is vastly different than an NDA for a funeral. They are prohibited from sharing what happened at the funeral, but he's doing this for profit. But she's doing this for profit, which she claims is going to charity. Move with Kindness is not a non-profit. It's a Shell charitable fund. The page has no details about a fund or how it will be used. Some suspect this fraud is a scam. Yes, she really called herself a celebrity. It's clear that racism is running through her veins, in my opinion. The family has stated that at the funeral, the event was essentially segregated, with the white family on one side and Stephen's family on the other. His friend called it eerie and uncomfortable. Well, I mean, okay, I guess where you have a mixed race issue, family are going to tend to gravitate towards each other. And so you're probably going to have inadvertently segregation because his family's going to want to sit together and her family's going to sit together. You know? Did any of his family venture across to her family? Or was it just her family that was responsible for it? See what I mean? So, yeah. So now we go to here. What's this one? Oh, so this is Twitch, apparently. So this is him on. It's funny how she's on his. Didn't she not like him because he was on Ellen? But here she is sharing his stuff on TikTok. Stop coaching. I shared that. What's this one? And then this is another reel that she's sharing from Stop Coaching. You know, it's like Gypsy's books and stuff. Everyone's talking about what's in it, but she says the truth will always prevail. And then it says TMZ obtained NDAs. Twitch's family says Ellison made them sign. I thought she had the exclusive, but it looks like in order to attend his funeral and essentially financially blocks him from doing what she's doing, namely collecting any money from a memoir about their relationship and his death. Under NDA, Twitch's family and friends who signed it agreed to hand over any proceeds from interviews, books, articles, and programs about him straight into Ellison's pocket, which is a pretty strong deterrent. Then she says, the truth comes out, the NDA was not to stop people from sharing a photo of Stephen in his casket. And she says the truth will always prevail. But she shared that she had the exclusive NDA. So it's TMZ that had it. Something. So this is this attorney, Simone Redwine. Thank you for this excellent breakdown.
That I believe did not exist here that would make this NDA invalid is you have to offer consideration. What is consideration? Consideration is something of value. It could be money. So that's
I'm triggered by this because I feel like there are certain relationships that we have where there's a level of vulnerability and trust that I'm going to share who I really am, the parts that the world doesn't get to see. And I think maybe your mom, your sister, but most definitely your partner is the type of relationship where you're.
So again, stand for Stephen. Stop culting. So Alison said herself and through her daughter Wesley, the NDAs were strictly for no photos released and respectively. That is a good point consideration. I mean, that's really what happens in a contract. But again, I haven't seen them. I don't know what's in them.
I'm triggered by this
to comment on them. So I'll just put that. Sister Wives, Cody Brown destroys his court case against Christine with disgusting message to his kids, apparently. Family threatened with lawsuits, restraining orders by Alison Holker in NDA. What is she hiding? Well, I mean, if they've breached it, it'll be for a court to decide whether they're valid or not. Again, that's Twitch again. No conspiracies, look for yourself. So she's got a new hook. Her racism's coming out, apparently. But as I said, I'm trying to look at this. I know quite a few mixed-race people, and when they have events, they all tend to gravitate towards the people you're comfortable with. You have to, someone has to step out of the zone to. You make me feel Katie. What? Did you write that? You make me feel Katie. What? Don't miss the full details of the NDA in this video. Do we want to watch it and see what she says? I'm actually interested in her legal breakdown analysis. All the infos are from Without a Crystal Ball, it says. So she's got her making everyone sign an NDA to attend a funeral is crazy enough to me, but then going and doing the exact opposite. In my eyes, this has nothing to do with protecting his name. It's just insurance for Alison to be the first to make money from the whole situation. So according to Simone, NDA must provide consideration, and it says that they got all the information from Without a Crystal Ball. So according to the NDA, the family was forced to trade their silence in order to attend the funeral. While the funeral was not disclosed publicly, the funeral was held at a public funeral home. Under the law, no one can be barred from attending a funeral at a funeral home, cemetery, or a crematorium without a court order. The main purpose outlined in the NDA is to protect information that is not known to the public that would sully his memory or legacy if publicly disclosed. However, they are also barred from disparaging Alison and her business practices. NDAs cannot be enforced if someone is being blocked from reporting illegal activity or suspicious as well. Attorney Simone Redwine explains it in her YouTube video. Here is a clip. Is this thing that she shared here. So that is her Instagram. And then she's put, what's this? Is of money, and for your information, I'm not being sued. She posted this. Thank you, Miss Balls. Manny is not being sued by anyone and did not take down his posts due to legal threats. There is a reason the post is down, and the reason is not bad. Please note that not every decision of the people involved in the situation will be disclosed. When there is something to announce or update from the family, we'll let you all know. She's the spokesperson now for the Boss family, hey? Very bizarre. This message is for you, Alison. Please do not send your daughter's boyfriend or ex-boyfriend into my DMs to try and shame and manipulate me to remove a public post about Wesley. I've made no negative comments about Wesley. Sending a minor into my inbox is manipulative, inappropriate, and crossing so many boundaries. I will not respond or engage with any minors regarding this situation. But you're talking about a minor. You need to take responsibility for manipulating your minor daughter to speak on an adult situation that she has no business commenting on. This is your poor parenting and your fault. Thank you. What do you think about a minor coming out and defending their mother? I would have thought that Wesley's daughter would be in more of a position to be able to talk about it than what she would be. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong, but that's what I would have thought. Oh dear. And then
to the hospital. So
this was from something that here.
Can't get in touch.
It says, how come she never addresses Allison's alcoholism? And then Katie says, hi, Liz, says, when kids grow up in a home with substance abuse, they don't know what is normal and what isn't normal. Allison may also hide the drinking from her kids. I don't know.
Can't get intoxicated at all because my son needs 24-hour a day, 7-day a week care with his medications, with his needs. And there have been times in the middle of the night that we have had to take him by ambulance to the hospital. So my husband and I, we don't use any drugs. Did I, at one point in my life, smoke pot? Yeah, I did. Have I tried a lot of drugs in my life? I have. That's another reason why I can't do drugs is I am on medications for ADHD that are counterintuitive or interactive with my Adderall. And yes, I take Adderall, but I only take Adderall as prescribed by my doctor. I have never, ever in the entire 2 years I've been on this medication, taken more than a recommended dose.
So that's something that Miss Balls together.
At all.
Yeah. And again, I think it's, and then Miss Balls, and she's right, I think it's gross Allison was okay with W posting this. I think it's gross that she shared them and blasted her mum. Our bottom line is the daughter's been exploited. This is the first 22 minutes of the live. This will be painful to hear as she exposes details about Stephen's stepdad's passing. This is tragic to put a child in the middle, she says. Fact-checking out Alison Hawker's daughter's claims that Alison never said, Alison never called Stephen a drug. You know what? This is what Wesley stated in her live from last night. At the end of the video is a clip from people of Alison discussing the issue. I feel sad that Alison is lying to her kids. But she's blasting a minor. I mean, seriously, I have huge issues with that. And then here we've got the fact that the boyfriend, she was holding hands with a man in August, but according to Adam's Facebook account, he's married and the father of 3 children. He and his wife's eldest appears to be a young adult who's a stalker. At the time of Alison's debut in the August photo, there was no divorce proceedings between Adam and wife Charlene. By September 2024, Charlene filed for divorce in Utah County seeking an end to the marriage. At the time of filing, the court placed a domestic relations injunction and assigned mandatory classes. Adam filed his response to the divorce on October 2024. As months went on, there were numerous motions filed from both sides. However, on December 6, 2024, the couple filed a joint motion to stay the proceedings of divorce. The stay was granted on December 26. A stay of proceedings mean the couple was asking the court to pause the legal proceedings and placing the case on hold. This means the court divorce is presently on hold. According to post by his wife, Adam and his wife appear to have been married for almost 20 years. Whether or not they were separated when he began dating Allison is unknown. Recently, Allison told People magazine that Adam is the love of her life. I wonder what Adam's wife thinks about these statements. She has gone deep diving. It's so she's talking about her son there. You can probably see there. So somebody's also found out that she's not someone more well versed in non-profit tax exemption than without a crystal ball, or I reached out to clarify how incorrect she is regarding the move with kindness. It's been hosted or sponsored by the Edward Charles Foundation umbrella, which is a legal entity. The Stephen Laurel Boss Foundation was filed with the state of California using a registered agent. There's an IRS, and so, but this is the parent company, allegedly. So, as I said, you can go and do your own the bingo card. We looked at the bingo card, yeah. She talks as if she knows everything firsthand. When was that taken? So let's go have a look. Let's do it. I want to have a look at see what she comes. I want to see what the legal mind of Katie Joy is going to tell us about NDAs. Gee whiz. Katie Joy, there we go. She's sitting on 397,000 subscribers, by the way. And she's made it. So here's a YouTube channel. Yeah, right. It's had 16. So she's put it as her highlighted video. And she's still got and she's still got all of these channel members here. Look at this one. Laura, Jana Duggar in love with Beth's friend Laura and refuses to court. Really? And then these are her most popular playlists here. So let's have a look at this one. This is really what I want to listen to. And it looks like it is. We're going to go.
Fortunately, I had a lot of work on my own and he had a lot of work on his own, but we also did a lot together. And so as I was grieving and trying to be, patient with myself and also being a good parent to my 3 children and guiding them through their grief, I was taking business meetings the very next day. And having to hear about taxes that were owed or contracts that need to be rewritten. And it was really tough. But I was like, you know what? No one else is going to be able to do this for me, especially now. Yeah. And we've already lost so much. I can't lose that. Yeah. And so I took that role and I said, you know what? This is actually what's going to help me survive. And also just stop being competitive with your girls. I think sometimes parents get competitive with their kids. As young girls stepping into their power, being beautiful, maybe getting more attention from the husband or from friends, or people being like, oh, your daughter's so beautiful, she's coming to her own. And people being like, but what about me? Let your kid own their power and be the one that's the sunshine and the
Hello, Gracie Lee. So I know I'm late to play that KJ doesn't even have to go after someone, but why is she stuck on this lady? How does it? Well, she's stuck on this lady because apparently that she is giving the impression she's the representation for the family. She's got in touch with the family now. Does that sound familiar? Yeah.
The attention getter, like let them thrive.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Tuesday, January 14th, 2025.
I have to tell you, I've sped her up as well. Just remember that I've sped her up.
Let's go back in time to December 13th, 2022. It's an awful day because it's the day that family members of Stephen Boss learned that he is no longer here. They're forced with an unfathomable reality and need to get to Los Angeles in order to pay their respects, set up a funeral.
Why? I've got a question for you. Why is she using sparkles? Do you think it's inappropriate that she's got the sparkles happening?
And get all of his affairs in order. And when they get there, instead of finding a grieving widow, you're surrounded by a team of people that are surrounding the widow. There's business meetings happening all around, business meetings that Allison has admitted to on podcasts, discussions about brand deals, discussions about legacy, discussions about products and projects, and confusion because you still are trying to piece together what happened. And while the team is making plans and business arrangements for profit, you, the family, are left trying to pick up the pieces to figure out what happened that day. What went wrong? What is this? You're told that it was this passing was at his own hands, but then the everything that you're seeing and the confusion surrounding it makes you feel suspicious because you don't see the note. You don't know what his last conversation with his wife was about. You had conversations with him, but they weren't the way that the wife was describing it. The wife's story didn't match your account. And
How? Everybody is going to have. You could ask everybody that attended that funeral service what they saw, and every single person will give you a different answer. Doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It's just a different answer. Everyone has a different perspective and focus on things.
And it felt like things didn't seem to add up. And then when there was discrepancies noted by people, suddenly you're hit with an NDA. And you're like, wait a minute, why?
Wait on. I thought she said they had to sign an NDA before the funeral. Now she's trying to imply that happened after. So what is it?
Am I having to sign an NDA? That's a good question. So Allison proposed an NDA within days of this passing. In fact, according to my sources and the first records of this, the first version of the NDA was proposed by, I think, December 16th. The redlined version that made it to the final cut on the day of his memorial and wake was the third version. And what it included was astounding. And many of the guests that came were pre-approved by Allison. She was terrified of the people coming that she apparently did not know. And she wanted to, quote unquote, protect his legacy. Now, guests had no
don't forget, he was also a public figure. So they just didn't want every Tom, Dick, Harry, Katie, Joy turning up to the funeral either. I can understand why you would need to let people know that you were attending because,
idea what they were walking into because they were going as family members to an event to say goodbye to their loved one. And when they were met at the door of the funeral home, they were slapped with a confidentiality agreement, which named her as a beneficiary along with her children.
A confidentiality agreement. I thought a confidentiality agreement and an NDA are different. So confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements are essentially the same thing. So that's all right. So yeah, so confidentiality agreement. Most workplaces have confidentiality agreements. So yeah.
Stephen and her extended family, and you as the bereaved family, cousins, brothers, mom.
So again, she's interchanging words to add a little bit of confusion because, if you didn't know that they were the same, you wouldn't know what she was talking about.
Uncles, aunts, grandparents, cousins. You are told that you need to sign this confidentiality agreement, but you notice on the document that her family is included in the beneficiary side. So her family doesn't. It's weird, right? It's almost like you're walking into a service and you're being told you're not my family, even though you are. And then you find out that in order to walk in, you are
and sent him to be used and how many extended family members. They may be given access to and become acquainted with sensitive, private, and or confidential information defined below. Understand the term beneficiaries as used to include Alison Holker-Boss, together with her immediate and extended family, including without limitation Stephen Boss, and any beneficiaries related or affiliated with their respective agents, employees, direct attorneys, business managers, representatives, and executives. In consideration, beneficiaries' agreements to reveal certain confidential information to me, and for other good and valuable consideration, the receipt and sufficiency of which hereby acknowledged, I agree to enter into this confidentiality agreement and to apply with its strict conditions. Okay.
Told that you have to sign this agreement because they believe that you're going to be given confidential information from Allison and her family.
Again, she's showing me a screenshot. I cannot tell you whether that is actually what they had to sign because it doesn't show me any information.
But really, the confidential.
Yes, it does say Alison Holker Boss. It's got that line, but it's, again, it doesn't show a lot of the information
That you're receiving is the consideration here. So you're not actually getting anything from attending this event. You are being told to attend and told that you can't walk through the door unless you sign this. You don't have a lawyer with you. You're not someone that's savvy in legal documents. And
question: when you sign your employment contract, often you sign that in an office, and usually there's a section of that with a confidentiality agreement in there. So should you have to sign or have a chat to, should you sign in the presence of a lawyer? You know that I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
And you're trying to make sense of all of this, and also in the process of grieving, and you're signing something with serious consequences and under duress. And mind you, it's probably illegal because nobody can prevent someone from attending a funeral, especially if it's at a church or a funeral home. They're open to the public. And even if they're deemed private, you can't ban someone from an event without a court order. So you then learn that when you walk into this service, which is in 2023, and it's in January, weeks after the passing happens, that you're backdating this confidentiality agreement to the day of his death. And you are told that the reason why you're doing this is because they are protecting his legacy. In fact, it says that they agree not to disclose information that is not generally known to the public that would sully his memory and legacy if publicly disclosed.
Now, here's my other question. Here's a question that somebody might be able to answer me. Do we know if any other celebrities have to sign at funerals? Whether celebrity funerals, they sign NDAs? Because so it's all about the Holkers, of course it does. They aren't open to public unless people are paying for what they want to open to public. She's an idiot. That's her opinion. Yes. And don't forget, there are some people that have to sign. If you want to go out with a celebrity, some people will make you sign NDAs to go out with them or to have dinner with them, or that's the that's the interesting thing. And so, for example, here is something here. So this is somebody that does celebrity non-disclosure. So this is a site for find celebrity jobs working for. So if you want to work for a celebrity, you can go to find celebrity jobs. And here it talks about why they would want you to sign NDAs. Okay. So purpose of a confidential agreement is to protect the privacy of the high-profile person. It's not made to restrict the freedom or liberty of the person who signs it. When celebrities hire staff, it's recommended to go through a domestic staffing agency because they can handle the issue of a confidentiality agreement. So it is standard. See, it is very common for high-profile people like the Kardashians to have those close to them sign an NDA. It has nothing to do with trust, it's business. Celebrities don't want anyone to disclose confidential information. Not only is it embarrassing, but it's bad for business. Although a celebrity is a public figure, it doesn't give people a carte blanche to say anything they like. Celebrities are entitled to privacy and they want to keep personal matters confidential. That's why most staff who work for A-listers sign NDAs. So this is the issue that I've got. Is it standard? Do you think it would be a standard practice for this to happen?
Get permission from Allison if you're ever going to talk about it, ever. In fact, it says, I shall not disclose any confidential information at any time and for any reasons, even the course of casual discussions, to any person or entity, including without limitation, friends or family members or members of my family, whether during my relationship with the beneficiaries or thereafter. I agree that with notwithstanding any other provisions herein, I shall not discuss or disclose wake information with or in the presence of Allison or her minor children or her family members at any time whatsoever, including but not limited to the memorial for Stephen Boss. I also agree that I shall not create or take any photos or videos depicting the wake or any wake information for any purpose whatsoever, and I acknowledge that such photos and videos are expressly prohibited by this agreement. I may privately and confidentially discuss wake information with other individuals who have signed the same agreement, protecting the wake information from disclosure for the benefit of the beneficiaries, provided that such persons have agreed to maintain the information as strictly confidential. And I shall not have any such discussions with or in the presence of Allison or her minor children at any time whatsoever. So you don't get to talk about the wake, even with Allison. She doesn't want to talk to you at all. Like, you don't.
I can see why. I can see she's trying. I can see that she's trying to protect her kids. And that's her right to protect her kids any way that she feels fit. I'm not going to judge her for her parenting of that.
Get to discuss the funeral or wake around her or her kids like ever, even if you're there. And then after it happens, you don't get to bring it up either. Weird, right? That's what they walked into. And again, your family, right? You're supposed to be the mother-in-law. You're supposed to be the brother-in-law, the cousin, the uncle, the aunt, the grandparent. And you're being told that you're not her family. And you're not supposed to.
This is an investigative journalist at play here.
Talk to her. She's drawing a line in the sand and telling you that you're not her family from day one of his death. If she finds out, so another interesting note about this NDA, which was first reported by TMZ, by the way, I just happened to get a copy. This also includes that you can't disparage her literally ever or tell or even like ever in perpetuity.
So she's just imagined. So she said that she had exclusively. She was saying that she had an exclusive, and then she admits that no, TMZ actually had it first.
Forever. It says, I agree that I shall not remove, reproduce, summarize, or copy or authorize, participate in, or aid and abet the removal, reproductive, summarization, copying of any confidential information except by requested by Allison. I agree to return immediately to Allison all confidential information, including originals and duplicates. I agree that I will not make any disparaging remarks about the beneficiaries or about their business practices or affairs of beneficiaries. So in perpetuity, outside of this scope of the wake, you're also not allowed to ever say anything bad about Allison. But Allison can say whatever she wants about you.
Okay.
Beneficiaries or about their business
Like this 23 minutes. Wow.
practices or affairs of beneficiaries. So in perpetuity, outside of this scope of the wake, you're also not allowed to ever say anything bad about Allison. But Allison can say whatever she wants about you and Stephen, but you don't get to say anything, even though you're related. And then you also are holding her harmless for any liability if you breach this by, say, talking to your spouse about it. And then if you do breach it, guess what? If you tell anyone anything that you've heard, and if you sell it or publish it, in addition to damages that she can get for injunctions, restraining orders, and like punitive damages and emotional distress, any proceeds that they make on any sales or publishing would immediately be transferred to her. And that a lien could be placed on your property for the proceeds of anything that you make. And for purposes, the proceeds of a sale or publishing of confidential information shall include without limitations any proceeds I receive for any interview, writing, or assistance in preparation of any books, programs, and beneficiaries. So the way that TMZ discussed this part of the NDA, they acted like it was the deterrent was that if you publish stuff, I get the money. But they didn't really explain to you guys that the NDA wasn't about money at all. It was
at TMZ, don't know what they're talking about. Okay.
About being able to walk into a funeral. It was about one family on one side that's white telling a black family of the bereaved, Stephen was black, that they're no longer their family. They don't trust them, and they don't get to talk about.
Now she's turning that into a race issue. Wowzers.
Stephen ever again, or Allison. And if they do, they're going to get sued. And then they act like anything that you say or do could cause great and irreparable harm to the person. So they're making it seem like anything you possibly could say about Allison would be a direct threat to her. And that because if you release any information about it, she can actually take out a restraining order against you and you can't fight it. It says, I agree without posting any bond, I shall be entitled to obtain, and I agree not to oppose a request for temporary restraining order or a preliminary or permanent injunction and other equitable relief to prevent a threatened or actual breach of continuing breach of this agreement. So you are at a funeral and your sister-in-law.
I sort of can understand why, because could you imagine the media frenzy over this? I can see why she would want to protect it. I can understand it. Do I agree with how she's gone about it? Probably not, but I can understand somebody wanting to protect and stop it from being a media frenzy. I can see that.
Or your daughter-in-law or your cousin-in-law, niece-in-law is threatening to take out a restraining order against you if you dare to say anything about her or Stephen publicly ever again, other than you love them. And then it tells you that no matter when you found out about this, and no matter what day you signed it, it's backdated to December 13th of 2022. And at the wake or the funeral, when all of this goes down, some people get so upset about it that they end up fighting, and some refuse to actually sign the NDA. Wesley, her daughter, talked about the NDAs on a live stream, which technically at that point is nulling and voiding this entire NDA discussion because they're disclosing details about the NDA that had otherwise not been public. Miss Allison told everyone that they had to sign this, but no one was allowed to say anything negative about Stephen that would sully his reputation. And then she wrote a book calling him a drug addict and disclosing private information about him that is not otherwise public. And she's using this loophole trying to say that this isn't actually to damage his reputation, it's to help others, but it still hurts him. So to be clear, Allison's side is saying they're just calling me a money grubbing person that is all about clout and doesn't care about him and taking, and they got it wrong. I'm not, I love him. I still love him. He's the best. I talk to him all the time. We love him more than anything. We only honor him. He's the best dad ever. He was the best husband ever. We had a magical relationship. And they are just out for clout and they want money from us. And we had to have these NDAs because look at what you're doing now. See, this is why we had to do this. This is standard. This is normal. Okay. That's their side. And then the family side is like, well, the way that this is written, you're acting like we care about the money and we don't. Because none of the people that I've talked to that were at this funeral, and by the way, some signed it and some did not. So there are definitely members of the family that did not sign that I've spoken to. So I know details because they can speak. And
oh dear, they can speak. And she knows details. She can speak.
their account is that there was a fight about this, which resulted in some people just literally refusing to sign and entering through a back door or getting a sticker to claim that they signed just to get into the funeral. Okay. But they were told it's to protect Stephen, but yet so much of the NDA was about Allison. And then the NDA was telling them, you're not our family. And then they get to the funeral and Allison's family sits on one side and Stephen's family sits on the other. And so to them who happened to be Black, it felt like they were being segregated because the two families weren't commingling. They couldn't speak to her. It was like she made a statement from the beginning, from the jump, that she wanted nothing to do with them and she was done with them. And then since then has been making it very hard for them to see his family. And on a recorded call with his friend Manny, was basically saying that it wasn't her responsibility to facilitate these conversations and for her to see her grandchildren. And the confines and the restrictions of this NDA were being weaponized in a way that the information that you were seeking to understand about what happened were being withheld from you. And when you were trying to get information, you weren't given every detail. All you wanted to know is what happened. And at every turn for the family, it felt like this behavior is suspicious. If you're grieving and you care about him, why are you taking business meetings? Why are you giving us NDAs? Why are you focusing?
Yeah, it's a very loose interpretation, in my opinion.
On the money. Why can't we see the letter that he left? Why can't we get access to the phone records? You have his phone. Can we see his text messages? Can we compare notes about what you saw and what we saw? What was your last conversation? Because
doesn't matter what his last conversation was with his wife, does it?
Oh, the truth about their relationship isn't what she's portraying. You know that there was a fight that had happened on their anniversary. Several members got together afterwards and started comparing notes and realized that Stephen had told one family member that the fighting had started on a Thursday and another one it was started on a Friday, but that there was a fight that weekend of that anniversary, their 9th anniversary, and then he ended his life 2 days later.
But doesn't all couples have fights? I'm finding a little bit of a stretch, in my opinion, some of this interpretation, a little bit of a stretch.
And he walks out and takes an Uber to a hotel that's $100 a night. It's like a motel, basically, a side on the road.
Pantocrat says the poor woman still has to work and support her kids. If Toad decided to no longer be in existence, the first thing KJ would do is make. She would. She'd be on TikTok. And we'd be hearing about it. Correct. You know, and there's no textbook on how to grieve or what you should do. If you have to support your family, then you have to do whatever you need to do for your family. And if that means you got to work the day of the funeral, you have to work on the day of the funeral. Because that's not everybody has that benefit.
Road motel, and he's there for a day and doesn't check out, and that's when he's found. But the whole time he's missing, she's not looking for him. His phone is shut off to airplane mode. She can't get through, but she's not out looking for him. And she only
how does she know all it? Like, how does she know what he's doing or what she was doing? I'm just so rest assured that Katie was there the day that he went missing and he knew what she was doing.
He goes to the police a day later and she tells him that there was no fight. But
the police won't do anything until someone's been missing for 24 hours. To be fair.
Knew that there was a fight. And then you find out that the weapon he used might have been her weapon. And then you find out that there's no surveillance footage of certain times and they're missing and you're not getting access to text messages.
What is she implying here? She's implying she's reaching now.
And she's being really cagey about what happened. And the note at the scene deems it self-inflicted, but you're starting to question everything. And even if she did not do it, and even if it was his ultimately what he did to himself, they're still not getting the answer.
Is she just implying that she tell me she's not just tell me she just didn't say what I thought she said. Ugh.
That's all they wanted was answers. And when they wanted answers or just to even have a conversation and just grieve with her, that's when they were silenced. It was never about money for them. It was about just wanting to know what happened to Stephen. And then every single time they turned around.
But I think that 24-hour report time has now been changed with no time limit before reporting. Oh, okay. Oh, that's good to know, short order. But you know what I mean? Most people would say, well, they could be out, there could be, phone could go flat, and you know, look, my son could be missing, and he could be gone a week before I'd even notice, because I barely see him. I only know that he's around because the food's missing. Like, if I suddenly had food in my fridge, I'd go, oh, he's not eating. I'll have to go check and see if he's alive. And I mean, he may have had a job that he needed to do. So I'm not going to go and say she didn't look for him. She may not have. She may have expected him to be doing that. But I'm glad she's inviting another lawsuit, says Bo. Yes.
Around, it felt like there was more to the story. And that's why some of them started to think, did she do something to him? Was this setup? I mean, the coroner says it was at his own hand, self-inflicted. There's a note, so they say this is evidence that it's self-inflicted. But the problem with self-inflicted wounds is you're never actually able to 100% determine that it was self-inflicted, because self-inflicted and ones that are not can appear to be the same. And it
I have no words. I have no words about this. This is unbelievable what I'm just hearing. I can't believe it.
can be staged. And so it's like the best educated guess based on the evidence that the coroner comes to that conclusion, but it's never 100%. And so there's always that doubt. And when the person that has some of the answers won't give you those answers and then wants to silence you and then spread a narrative that doesn't match what you know about them, that even makes things more suspicious. And then while you're trying to still maintain a
I was on the missing person list for 6 years. It wasn't until after I'd made 3 police reports that they realized it was me and I wasn't missing. You were missing? Did you have fun in that time?
cordial relationship to have a relationship with the kids, you're being pulled away from them even more. They're not making an effort to see you. And then anytime you do try to speak up, then
now don't forget, she's really critical of Allison for not wanting anything to do with his family when she has her own kid ostracized from her family.
it's threatened again that you have this NDA and they're going to silence you. And the kids are a carrot and they're being used like a weapon. And they're being brought into these fights, and you don't want those kids involved in those fights because all they want is a relationship with the kids. And so the NDA for them wasn't just like, you're making me sign this to go into a funeral, but it was also, what are you trying to hide, Allison? What are you hiding? The truth needs no, if the truth is that you had a magical relationship and everything was great, there's no need to hide things behind a cloak and a wall of a legal threat and the threat of a restraining order and the threat of a lawsuit.
And don't forget, I don't know whether there's a religion involved in that. For some religions, passing by your own hand is actually very embarrassing. People's relationships with a spouse is different to that with a family, so we'll never match up. Correct. Plan to create. Correct. I can't believe what I'm hearing. I just, oh dear.
If a legal activity happened and say within those 3 weeks, they came up with some concepts like maybe Allison is more involved in this than was let on. And now you're like in an NDA and you can't say anything about it. You can't use an NDA to prevent and cover up crimes. And we're not saying a crime occurred, but it's that cloud of suspicion that doesn't help. And she's fostering that cloud of suspicion with these steps she's taking. She's liquidating his assets. She's setting up business meetings. She's not dealing with funeral prep, and the family is doing this and she's on.
Hang on a minute. I thought she was cutting the family off, but they were involved in the funeral prep. Now I know she's talking out of her butt.
On business calls and Zoom meetings. Her entire management team's around her, and her family gets to stay in her house, and they're sent off to live and stay with the manager that they fired a year ago. So it's like, and then you write a book and you explain the NDA. She explains it this.
Here's the thing. If it was Allison that had passed, it'd be Stephen's family that would be comforting her. So would not be it would not be unusual that the family of Allison would want to support her because that's their daughter, sister, aunt, whatever. That's a different relationship to what the partner's family would have with that person. But yeah,
This way in the book, I couldn't risk any photo getting leaked to the press or splashed across social media platforms and becoming the lasting image that people would have of him. My children absolutely positively could not stumble upon such a photograph at some later date. At the advice of my lawyers, I insisted that everyone who viewed the open casket sign a non-disclosure agreement to protect Steven's privacy, a requirement that exasperated his family. And they said, if you have to sign NDAs, everyone has to sign. And I said, no problem. I replied, well, if you...
So everybody had to sign it, including Allison's family. She just said, have a listen to that.
That exasperated his family. And they said, if you have to sign NDAs, everyone has to sign. And I said, no problem. I replied, well, if
everybody had to sign it.
You signed it, then you breached it by disclosing the information about the NDA in your book and damaging his image with this book. And the way that you describe it in the book is not what's actually in the non-disclosure agreement. A tiny part has to do with the casket. And a lot of it has to do with, you don't get to talk about Allison. You don't get to talk about anything that happened in the last 3 weeks. If I gave you information that was about his death.
I think, though, she would have been savvy enough to speak to a lawyer to find out what she can and can't talk about. Just my opinion.
You don't get to talk about that. You don't get to say anything other than you loved him. You never get to talk to me or the kids about it. If it was just about the casket, that's all it would have been. It would have been a very limited non-disclosure agreement. But this one was broad in perpetuity and said you could never disparage Allison or talk about her business practices ever again. Now you decide.
Now, interestingly, so here's the thing. Allegedly, she's saying they're not allowed to disparage Allison. Yeah, aren't they disparaging her by criticizing the book? And now, with the allegations of her having a hand in his passing.
If you were the family, how you would feel about that. And then when it's disclosed by TMZ, it's made to look like the family's mad about money when it has absolutely nothing to do with money. They don't care.
How does she know that? How does she know that? She's going to tell us she's been talking about people.
About money. They never cared about money. When they got a contract that was all about money, it made them feel like she was commoditizing and turning his death into a brand, which was exactly what he hated about his life. His friends say he didn't want to be monetized. He didn't want his life monetized. He didn't want to be a brand. And she did. And so she kept the brand that he hated after death, according to his friends, which again makes them suspicious.
How was she supposed to support her kids if she couldn't make money?
So you decide what your thoughts are about this NDA, but I wanted to make sure that I gave you the details of the NDA in a more informed approach.
A more informed approach? Right.
So let me know what your thoughts are. Is there more to the story? What is she hiding? Why is she doing this? Tell me in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
Now I'll pass on that. That was 23 minutes or whatever it was. I'm never going to get back. That was pretty yuck, in my opinion. That didn't really give me anything. That did not tell me anything. As I said, I would be very surprised if celebrities didn't have to sign on confidentiality agreements. I reckon for the Queen's one, everybody would have had to have signed NDAs, and only the palace was able to release images. So it says, if you're new here, thank you for being here. What I do on here is report on topics that are often unreported and often ignored by mainstream media. Without a Crystal Ball is not a celebrity fan page, tabloid propaganda for PR, or place for mindless gossip. My specialty is uncovering the truth in complex public stories revolving around cults, religious abuse, narcissistic abuse, and exposing narcissists. I do deep investigations into every story I cover. All of my investigations are thorough and well-sourced. In regards to Allison and Stephen's story, I offered my platform to the Boss family to help the Boss family share their side without judgment and with compassion. The family is in my comments and following my posts, so please be respectful in comments. Thank you. So she does deep dives, but it's one-sided and biased because she doesn't allow the other side to share their story. And that's really what this is about. You gave a reply. You did give a reply to that post. If you were really being unbiased, you would actually share both sides of the story. But sharing both sides, and that's what investigations do. They're following her post. Well, that did actually, that did come to my mind, actually. I have to tell you that. I did wonder whether they're following her. And 7M is probably also following her posts, because if she's revealing stuff about the NDA, here is what Short Order said in the comment. It says, my specialty is acrobatics, sharp 180-degree turns, being sued, and compromising sources. I am a practicing narcissist and have many friends. High five to FBI Steve. Share both sides and remain impartial. Correct. Yeah, there's been a few interesting comments. And you say, I reached out to Alison Holker to ask her about this, and she didn't respond. I reached out to, and that the Boss family alleged such and such, and I reached out to the Holker family to get clarification on this, and they did not respond. And that is giving the other side a chance to share their part. You know, the UK media has particularly with the pallets, has agreements in place on what they can and can't report. So it's about, so essentially what she's stating is that she's given Stephen's family her platform to use. It's another 7M Shekinah thing where she let the Wilkins use her platform. So again, we're going to get one side. Yeah. So anyway, based on that, I'm going to head off. I'm going to go to bed now. I'm a bit under the weather. And I haven't been on since I haven't been online since Without a Lawyer became a grandmother. So I want to say hello to Grandma Without a Lawyer. I think she's enjoying being a grandma, and she's not going to be around a lot for a little while. But yeah, that was exciting news, wasn't it? We got a channel baby, a channel grandbaby. Yeah. So yeah. All right. So as I said, I want to thank you everyone for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, and I'll be on. Hopefully, I have lots of ideas, but I just cannot get myself to sit down. Yeah, I just cannot find enough time to sit down and do what I need to do. I need to really make that a priority and get into that a little bit more. But hopefully this summer cold will pass. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. But make sure you tell me what you think in the comments below.